Welcome back to the gardens here at tamTERRA. Today we're going to take a quick walkabout and take a look at July's garden. We have a few things to harvest, and there has been a lot of changes since my very wet June garden tour I showed you last month. So I'm going to try my best to survive the heat. It is about 40 degrees. We have around 80 days left in our grow season. I am in the North Okanagan, British Columbia, Canada, at around 2,200 feet in the mountains. I have a zone 9B in Canadian zones, so if you're watching from the US, it's not the same. We have a few things to harvest today, but we're gonna start down in a high tunnel because it's short and sweet. On this side, you guys can see my tomatoes are at the point where they do, in fact, need to be trellised. We've got the Moscovich down here at the end. They're starting to flop over, which is not the end of the world yet because they don't have any fruit on them, but it will be the end of the world, or the equivalent in tomato land, once these start bearing fruit. So I have the T-posts here, just have to get around to actually staking these bad boys up. After the Moscovich here, we have our Stupeca, which is a potato leaf variety tomato. It's grown quite big. All of our tomatoes in the many gardens we have going on right now, all are setting flowers. We have a few that are actually got some green tomatoes on them already, which is very exciting for the tail end of July. Let's see if I can show you some. Oh, here we go. This is the early girl variety. Can you see that? So last year, I didn't get any ripe tomatoes off of the plants. We got a very early frost in September, and I only ended up harvesting green tomatoes and ripening them off inside. So hopefully this year we can actually harvest some red ones off the vine. I have never had so much of this little weed as I have this year. Parslane, I believe. It's edible, and Mom has talked about seeing it here before, but last year and the year prior I didn't see them at all. And I think maybe it came in on the new soil we brought in. I'm not sure. It's very easy to weed out and you can eat it. It's very good for you. So I'm not upset about it. There's worse weeds to have by far, but it's interesting because I don't remember seeing it so prevalently. Maybe it's because in the previous years I've mulched more and I haven't this year, but it's something that's new. As always, I'm not going to update you all too much on my potato progress. As you can see though, these ones down here in the high tunnel area are definitely at the tail end. They are dying back, yellowing. I have actually dug in a little bit. Oh, and you can see there's just some little green potatoes here at the top. We'll cover them up for now. But I think we're gonna have a good potato harvest. I do have a potato video coming out for you all later on, start to finish our no-dig potato bed and trying out these containers for potatoes for the first time. So that's exciting. Up in the front of the high tunnel area, we have our strawberries, and we had some peas going here. They actually produced surprisingly well considering I just tossed these pea plants in here last minute. Everything down here in front of the high tunnel is doing well. Our strawberries have gotten well established into their new little containers here. We did end up getting a few strawberries off of the plants that we kept the flowers on while we transplanted them. We honestly expected those to fall off and not ripen out because we moved the plants, but they worked well. Man, I gotta water stuff. We do have some zinnias that are actually starting to put on flowers. We've got calendula with flowers, and our lilies are starting to bloom too. We've got fireweed everywhere, and the bees absolutely love it. More lilies, bright, fancy yellow lilies. That's it for down here. Let's head up. So this little bed area, I don't think I had planted out the last time I walked you around. We've got the rose bush that's actually been here for several years. We've got Ripley that's chasing bees. It's a bad habit that we don't exactly know how to break. He's only gotten stung a couple times, but it's been a couple good times, so we'll see how he learns with that one. As you can tell, this garden bed is not finished being built, but I had some extra pumpkin plants, so I planted some fairy tale pumpkins here, as well as miscellaneous sunflowers and some hollyhocks as well. Oh, and we've got this echinacea planted here too. Probably won't keep the echinacea here, but I didn't want it to die out in the pots, and we'll just uproot it and move it next season. Something that happened, which was not planned, was I put the bokashi compost in this garden bed. If you're not familiar with bokashi compost, it's just kind of a way of fermenting or pre-fermenting and breaking down your compost before composting it in place. You get a compost tea off of it. There's lots of great benefits. But anyway, I put a bunch of compost, bokashi compost, in this garden bed and topped it with some of the soil we brought in. Now, I only put, oops, dropped a pea. I only put 2 pumpkin plants, this one and this one, in this garden bed. And as you can see, we have literal hundreds of squash plants that popped up. All of them are slightly different. Like these guys, I have no idea what they are. This guy looks kind of like the fairy tale pumpkin I planted because it's got this white demarcation. It's not powdery mildew, it looks a little bit more like a variegation. Very similar to the fairy tale pumpkin. But there's some down there that kind of look like zucchinis. This whole patch over here is just hundreds of little ones. So it's a gamble. We're gonna probably end up with a lot of miscellaneous random hybrid pumpkins and squash, but I'm not upset about it. It wasn't gonna be used, that space, so I really can't complain that something random is growing in there. After that, we are finally starting to see, I'm gonna put these peas in my pocket because I'm gonna keep dropping them, some first raspberries. Now, it's like a never-ending struggle to eventually get around to taming this raspberry patch, but it still produces while it's this wild. Check it out. Can you see that in there? It's starting. Now this place has been absolutely buzzing with bumblebees over the last few weeks. It's felt kind of dangerous walking by, but they were so in the zone, and do we ever appreciate their hard work? Man. Growing up, blueberries used to be my favorite berry, and that was because my mom told me my eyes were so big and blue because I ate so many blueberries. And to like a 4-year-old, that means eat more blueberries, eyes get bigger and bluer. But now, there's something really majestic about a late August raspberry. That, and probably because they're so easy to grow. So, here we are in this top bed. This is our first year growing in either of these beds, other than the raspberries. Those have been here forever. In this front area here, we have the Black Beauty zucchini plants. We have 3 of them. And they are producing zucchini now, like it's nobody's business. Lots of guys down there. I think this one plant has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zucchinis on it. This guy over here is a little smaller, but he's still producing many, many zucchinis. Lots of gorgeous flowers. I really enjoy the Black Beauty variety. Really nice dark skin, super firm flesh. 10 out of 10. So we have some bug damage. I've been working with cover crops. I've been considering using BTK in order to kind of mitigate some of the cabbage moths this year. But this is kind of the 4 or 5 Brussels sprout plants we have going in the middle. Honestly, the damage is not as bad as it potentially could be, but I would really like to try my best to get a Brussels sprout harvest this year. So I think I'm going to maybe use BTK, a couple of applications, while using the cover crop so that I hopefully get rid of any caterpillars that are on the plant and prevent any moths from laying more eggs and hopefully mitigating caterpillar damage. This bed's soil has quite a high clay content. Well, not a high clay content, but it is quite compact. So I did plant daikon radishes in the back here to try and get some aeration and some organic matter into deeper layers. And they bolted fairly quickly. As you can see, we have lots of seed pods though. And what I have been doing is harvesting these like crazy. I'm gonna see if I can save some seeds as well. So let a few of these pods mature fully and dry out in place. But we've been fermenting these and they basically taste exactly like fermented radish. It's kind of a neat way to still get some kind of food harvest off of a crop that bolted and would be traditionally not used because it wasn't harvested or the weather conditions were right, it's a nice way to not waste. And that is our 2022 garden year motto. I guess if I have a motto, it would be waste nothing. So we've been fermenting these radish seed pods and they're quite spicy. Oh no, that is such a big flippin' caterpillar. Ah. Ew. Oh, I probably should have killed it. This is very exciting for me. This is called purple peacock broccoli. It's actually a hybrid between a specific type of kale and broccoli. It kind of spindles out like this. It's not a variety that you get a firm, solid broccoli head off of. That felt unobtainable to me in my gardening skill, and with the type of climate we have a short season, but it gets very, very hot here, and our gardening area is definitely more than like 8 hours of sun a day in peak summertime. So 40 degrees, short season, growing specific types of brassicas can be challenging, especially with our cabbage moth pressure. This year has been ridiculous, like hundreds of them just flying around. So this is really exciting that we even got this much of a harvest. This is going to be for dinner tonight. They have been a really funky, cool plant to grow. They're purple, which is a focus of this year's garden, getting more purple varieties of things. And so far, so good. I'm impressed. At the end of this bed, we have our fava beans in there, tucked behind our plum tree. Our plum tree this year is actually putting on quite a few plums. And then you can see in there our fava beans are starting to form up. Those are the Windsor fava beans, I believe. Oh, there's one that's really big there on the end. We have some serious sunflowers growing in this area. And then our bantam corn is actually starting to look like corn, which is great. All right, in this neck of the woods, what do we got going on? I've essentially forfeited my round in-ground garden bed to weeds. It's just been a lot to keep up with. Weed pressure in this area is pretty ridiculous, and there is no landscaping fabric underneath this. This was not even a traditional no-dig bed. There's no cardboard, there's no weed suppression at all. And I think that's really obvious. So once the garlic is harvested, we've got some sunflowers in there and some nasturtiums, but I'll probably end up putting a silage tarp or something of the sort to just kind of kill the weeds in the grass and start fresh next season. Plus, we did all of this digging here, and we now have this kind of miscellaneous space between this tree and where the back of our high tunnel flattened area comes out. So I don't need bracken growing here, so I'm gonna find a way to probably extend this round garden bed out this way and utilize the space. There's probably going to be a lot of potential squash growing in this area. Now, this garden bed, I know it looks really empty. There was supposed to be this little loofah that took up this space, but did not do so well. It's not happy in the corner and has basically stayed that size for 2 months. We do have 3 determinate Manitoba tomatoes at the back of this garden bed. They are putting on flowers now and looking pretty good. We have this massive sage plant that I have been in absolute love with. At the front of the bed, there are some ground cherry plants as well that are taking off. Now to explain to y'all my bean fiasco. A while back, I thought I mislabeled my beans. I thought I put bush beans where pole beans go and pole beans where I was putting bush beans. Turns out I didn't mislabel them, and I had them right the first time, but I moved them. So at the corner of this garden bed, I have a bunch of bush beans, or what I thought was bush beans, and they're actually pole beans. So they have now progressed from tomato cages, which is usually more than enough to hold in and tame bush beans, to this really jimmy-rigged teepee. This teepee was in the round bed last year with pole beans. Now it's spanning these 2 garden beds. It works surprisingly well. And the beans are starting to make their way over from these tomato cages onto the little trellis. So it's working. turned out all right. It does mean I kind of wasted my trellis space in the raised bed by the greenhouse, but what can you do? Over here, we have a lot of miscellaneous things going on. We've got a lot of calendulas, nasturtiums back here. I did end up direct sowing okra, and it's come up and starting to grow. It's a pretty big one here. And another pretty big one right there. More okra. In the back, we have Minnesota midget melons. They are starting to put on flower and spread their little runners, so that's going well. In the front here, we have total eclipse. These are squash. I actually transplanted these from that round bed up here so that they didn't get lost in the weeds. So they are behind our other squash, but are kind of catching up. These are more of those daikon radishes that went to seed and flower. The bees have been loving them, and like I said, we've gotten lots of these little pods. We have more sunflowers, more weeds. I have been fighting bracken like it's my day job, but we're not going to talk about it. I'm a little sad about the amount of bracken I've had to deal with this year. Coming into the shade, you drop like at least 10 degrees. Ripley, you can chase bees, but not in my garden, boy, you hear me? You see these little black fences? They help deter the dog from chasing the bumblebees to the flowers. That we simply cannot have. All right, we are in the potato patch area. We do have potatoes going on in the background there in various stages. Our garlic is almost ready to be harvested. We have dropped around 1 to 2 leaves on the bottom down there. We have carrots going on in the front. They look pretty happy. We've got parsley. We just harvested a bunch of radishes out of this front corner. Some sage. Look, more bracken. Bergamot. Some chatty chickens over there. I hear you. Sunflowers. Hollyhocks. More daikon radishes along the side here, and they are actually starting to bolt as well. Down at this end of the bed, this is where our candy cane corn is. I direct sowed this significantly later than that other variety, so it's a bit smaller, but it is coming on strong as well. And then there are 3 spaghetti squash plants growing here. They're just starting to set female flowers. They've had lots of male flowers. Now it's the time where setting female and male flowers sync up, and we're going to hopefully get some squash soon. We do have another bean teepee coming out of this ocean of potatoes, and those, I believe, are Kentucky blue pole beans, and they're doing great. I'm trying to keep this fairly short and sweet because we got a lot of ground to cover, and it's like 35 degrees. And I know a lot of people watch my channel, and they're from the States, especially southern states. Let me tell you, I'm Canadian. I'm a cool climate little lady, okay? This is hot, 35 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit because I'm Canadian. All right, stay focused. We are at the 3 garden beds closest to the greenhouse and snuggled up into some shade. These rutabagas here, they're actually quite large. This is the smaller side, and I think it's because the greenhouse blocks out the sun, so they don't get as much light, but they're about golf ball size on this side. And they have sustained, as you can see, some serious damage from the dang moths. But you look at the ones on this side, and they're about softball size. Something I have found really interesting is kind of once the moth pressure lightened up over here, so many wasps moved in. Now, I don't know if wasps eat caterpillars or the eggs or something, but wasps have kind of just, I can even show you them. Like there's some right here. These big black ones, they have taken over the rutabaga area and like are just on patrol constantly. At first I thought they made like a wasp nest somewhere on the greenhouse, but I have since done a search and have found nothing. So I'm assuming that they're maybe just eating caterpillars, which I'm game for. In the back of this bed, we finally have some cucumber growth. These are the Marketmore cucumbers. I'm hoping that they take off. I'm a little doubtful. It's quite hot for them, And I know they like a lot of sun, but I feel like they're already at that crispy dry stage. We'll see how that goes. In the back of this bed, honestly, our salad mix is still holding on. It has been like 35 degrees. Our carrots are doing all right. I expected the salad green blend here to bolt and be out of here a long time ago, giving our carrots some more room, but I don't want to kill the lettuce until it's done, you know? So it's still a bit crowded in here. That being said, kale is also getting attacked by pests, as it does this time of year. Gonna do a harvest here shortly and get some kale chips happening. Probably one of my favorite ways to eat kale. I have lately been making a kale Caesar salad with mixed greens, but mostly kale, with, what is that stuff called? Activated yeast. It's got that cheesy goodness flavor. 10 out of 10. On this side, we've got some beautiful pak choi still holding on. All of this big chamomile, more pak choi, parsley, the back of the peas. These lemon cucumbers seem to be doing quite good this year. I'm very excited to actually get some lemon cucumbers. It's like the size of like a small softball. Looks like a lemon. It's supposed to taste good. Never tried them before. Very excited. Our peas. Man, did they take off. I assumed that they were like snap peas. They are not. They are shelling peas. I have never grown shelling peas intentionally or unintentionally before, but I've really been enjoying tearing into them. It's interesting because the outside is purple, the inside is green, obviously. So I wonder if you still get the benefits of purple vegetables, which are those like specific enzymes or something. They're very delicious. Purple mist peas. 10 out of 10. Ooh, this is like a sun-rich sunflower. She's almost ready. She's pretty big. As you can see though, lots of these peas. So we're gonna have a back porch pea shelling party shortly. It is funny, some of them aren't purple. Like these guys here are green. No idea why. But another incredibly large and exciting thing in this bed would be these 3 tomatillo plants that have gotten absolutely bodacious. That's not a word I usually use to describe things, but it seems applicable. If we come down here, you can just see all of these little lanterns. I only have 3 tomatillos in here, guys, and it's a jungle. I have, surprise, surprise, never grown tomatillos before. This is a purple variety. I had no idea that they're this prolific. I am unaware as to whether or not you're supposed to trim them like tomatoes, like prune them up, stop runners or little suckers, but these things are just like, they've taken over the whole front of this garden bed. All of this tomatillos. However, I'm psyched. If it works, it works. They seem to love the heat here, so I'm not complaining. All of our marigolds have started to look like marigolds, which is long awaited. And we have blossoms almost ready to open up. We've got some basil here. Oddly enough, I have never gotten a basil harvest. I can get a plant to be about this big and then it's finito. So hopefully we get some good basil growth. I did actually just buy a new seed pack of basil. It's a different variety than I've grown before, so we're gonna try those in a different area. This, it's like a self-seeded Cosmo, but it's white. I don't know. I've never planted white Cosmos. No idea where it came from. It's got a lot of flowers coming on. I've only ever had these purple Cosmos, so can Cosmos go purple? I mean white? Can purple Cosmos go white? I mean, they are absolutely beautiful, and bees have just been loving them up. This little one just grew out of the ground, so we put a pot around the bottom of it. Bubby. Hey. Hey, stop catching bees. Yeah, so I don't know. This is a white Cosmo, I guess. It has so many little blooms on it, so it looks like it's going to be very pretty, but yeah, not planned. Oh, if I get low, I'm in the shade. So we have more chamomile. Here we have our yellow wax bush bean, as you can see. They're not quite ready. They're really bendy this year. I'm not sure why. But yeah, starting to put these guys on. Still more flowers coming. This is a glacier tomato. It's one of the first ones I actually planted out, and as you can see, there's quite a few fruit starting to form, which is giving me hope that we'll be able to ripen some fruit at least. Maybe not all of our tomato harvest, but at least some might go red on vine. That would be exciting. I'll count that. I'll take it as a win. Here we are with more Suyo long cucumbers. We've got 4 plants here. They're quite tangled in here. I'm actually kind of looking forward to taking these peas out of here because they really have just invaded this whole trellis, and it would give these cucumbers some more room to get established, I think. So once I pick some to shell, I think that might be the next move. These are more wax pencil pod bush beans. Yellow wax pencil pod bush beans. Why are these varieties such long names? Down here we have cilantro and some parsley and some nasturtiums. Got some nice red ones this year. Very exciting. More chamomile. Never enough chamomile. All right. Check these out. Started a bunch of pansies and planted them everywhere without knowing what color any of them are, and I have just been enjoying discovering the new little blooms. We've got some really dark purple ones. There's bright yellows on the other side. This interesting kind of array of colors. We've got some beets starting to form, garlic. It has come to my attention that I don't really talk about the fact that I have an Instagram account where I do kind of small mini garden tours. I update you guys on what's going on a lot more frequently than I manage to get whole YouTube videos out. I take you guys around the property on walks with Ripley and I, show you the indigenous flowers. June is a crazy wildflower month, so I ended up posting a lot of wildflower videos. So I'll leave my handle somewhere on the screen here, and I'll link in the description below to my Instagram account. It's Life by Melanie, just like my YouTube account. And if you'd like, you can follow me there, where I'll kind of keep you updated on the smaller things going on, and you can chat to me. These are the Royal Burgundy bush beans, coming in hot. It's actually so hard to harvest these guys because it's kind of shady in here, and like you lose them all amongst the stems. There's a good one. As you can see, I've been really focusing on purple varieties. I did purple peas, purple beans, purple tomatillos, purple broccoli. Purple was not in my repertoire until this year, so I'm happy that it's kind of working out a bit. Rosemary growing, some more glacier tomatoes. They are also putting on fruit, which is exciting. Move, dog. Keep going. On this side, we still have Swiss chard that's hanging on. This Swiss chard is obviously gone to seed, but I think it looks really funky and cool. If you can take a look, see if I can get it to focus. They look like, no, there we go. Maybe. I just think it looks really funky, and a bunch of different like hoverflies and all sorts of pollinators have been really enjoying it, so I've left it. Give me that wild aesthetic any day. Live your best life. Oh, these are the bright little pansies I was talking about, and then some random deep dark purple one in there, but super cute. This hollyhock is just kind of getting eaten alive by these beets. That's the sink. We're gonna put that behind the house for kind of our gray water fruit and veggie washing station. When I planted out the garden, I didn't know if this seedling was a tomatillo or a ground cherry. Turns out it is a tomatillo, and it's actually setting quite a bit of fruit. It has no support and it's staying upright pretty well, so that's impressive. We do have ground cherries also here. This is a different variety than in the other bed, but they're putting on their cute little lanterns, so excited to try those for the first time this year as well. These ground cherries, tomatillos, a lot of firsts. Very exciting. Over here, we have been harvesting so much food. We have 3 cue ball squash in this garden bed, and while the plant seems not very big, we have gotten, I think off of this guy alone, I've harvested about 4 softball sized cue ball squash. We've got lots of leeks, lots of weeds. In here, more little miscellaneous pansies. I have peas going absolutely everywhere, falling all over the place. Another cue ball squash plant. This is what the squash look like. Super cute right now. They're like the size of a ping pong ball. but they get big fast. It's exactly like zucchini in that regard. You leave them for a day and all of a sudden it's like 3 times the size. This garlic is starting to die back a bit. 2 or 3 of the bottom leaves and the tops are crisping up, so we'll be harvesting this stuff soon. I'm excited I thought it would be out sooner so that the carrots behind it would have more room, but we'll see how it goes. And another cue ball squash plant back here. Okay, out of the sun and into the shade. Whoa! My mom weed whacked. Oh dang, I didn't notice. I guess my mom weed whacked. Thanks, Mom. Up this hill in the shade, we have freshly weed whacked, courtesy of Mother, so you can actually see them. 3 squash, butternut squash plants, and there is some actual comfrey there as well. So it's kind of hard to give you guys orientation of the land when I'm doing garden tours, but we just came up this hill. Those are the garden beds by the greenhouse. There's my adorable puppy. And we were just taking a look at that garden bed. We call it our propane garden bed because it does hide our propane tank. And then we've got these garden beds we built out of the side of the hill here. So across this little footpath right here onto this side of the hill was just unused space. So we're trying our hand at some guerrilla style gardening, or at least that's what Billy and William from Perma Pasture Farms, they call it guerrilla gardening, and I think that's cute. Shout out to them. So I just planted them on the side of the hill. I did put some nice topsoil, garden soil, just into little spare rings that I had just to hold in some moisture and give them some good nutrients right at the root. Other than that, they're just in the hill. So it's going well so far. For those of you who might not have been following along in our blueberry escapades, I will link to the blueberry video where I planted out my Northland and my Chippewa blueberries. The 3 Northland blueberries that I planted out at the same time as my Chippewa berries, they didn't take. They didn't even grow a single leaf, none of them. Their stems had green in them, and I got them from the same nursery that I got the Chippewa, but nothing happened. So I went back to the same nursery. I got 2 additional Northland blueberry bushes and I planted them here, and they seem to have taken. However, I will note that these had leaves when I brought them home. The other ones did not. The Chippewa are up here in the front and they're doing fantastic. A little bit of pest damage, but it seems to be thriving nonetheless. Same with here, a little bit of pest damage, but overall, I'm more impressed with the Chippewa variety simply because I struggled with the Northland. And I don't know if that was just a luck of the draw, but we'll see how these Northlands do. Fingers crossed, because I love me some blueberries. Our valerian has been unruly and obnoxious, so I have just been pruning it pretty excessively. Leeks are doing all right here in the front. We have some Reno Victory squash. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to get a harvest off of them this year, but we'll see. They've started to take now, but that delayed long spring weather kind of put them behind the 8 ball for sure. This is the bracken, bane of my existence. This is a garlic scape. I didn't know I had a garlic up here. Ow. Garlic scapes. This is catnip that has taken over, and I'm going to have to harshly prune. Down here, we're gonna have to do some BT as well because there are 7 Brussels sprout plants in this garden bed, and they're getting wrecked. So I'm hoping, I'm probably gonna end up using BT. I have never used any pesticide before, and I'll be honest, even the word pesticide sounds scary to me. It is an organic pesticide. It is like a natural thing unto itself. It's not like just a chemical. Part of me feels like that's good, but I'm still really hesitant. I even went to the store today and I purchased it, and I still am not like fully committed to using it, even though I've spent the money on it. I just really want brassicas to work, especially Brussels sprouts, because I've now sacrificed a significant portion of my gardening space for an entire season. So to not get any harvest off of Brussels sprouts, like there's 7, this is a whole garden bed. That's a 4 by 8 foot garden bed. that basically has some herbs and Brussels sprouts in it. So if I get no Brussels sprouts, that's a lot of wasted growing space. So BTK might be on the menu. All right, there are a few garden beds that I didn't get around to showing you. I will get to those another day because it is toasty out here. Thank you for spending time with me in the garden today. I hope you have had a fruitful and a fun July. I hope you're staying cool out there. Ripley and I are probably going to go and jump in the creek because it is toasty. So for now, live long and prosper, and I'll see you all back here very shortly with another video. Bye-bye.